Hello, hello, we are live.
Yes.
And I was almost going to say happy Monday because I forgot we're on Tuesday. So happy Tuesday.
We're on Tuesdays now. We're on Tuesdays. We have our beautiful goddess friend Lexi who's joining us, one of our sea goddesses, also known as the mermaid in the mountains. She's incredible in so many different ways. Is it okay if I introduce her, Crystal?
Then what? Of course.
Awesome.
I feel like she needs to be.
Yes. Lexi is our mermaid in the mountains. She's got many, many gifts and talents and strengths. One of them is she's an amazing conscious parent. She's raising 4 beautiful, beautiful babies in the most divine ways, and they are loved and healthy and woke in so many ways, and she's able to navigate that. Lexi also does lymphatic drainage massage. She holds soul space and does some sound healing and card reading, and she's a medium and has all kinds of cool skills coming in with that. And she's just a beautiful, beautiful being. And we're so excited and honored to hold some soul space with her tonight on Spirit Speaks. So thank you for being with us, Lexi.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love you, girls. So this is like, my favorite invite ever. So I'm so excited to be here. I know, and Tuesday, it feels like a Monday for me here. So I was like feeling Monday-ish and looking forward to my Monday nights. And Monday nights, now it's like, okay, I got to wait one more day for Spirit Speak. So here, we made it to Tuesday.
We needed to shift. We have a new season and new energies. And Crystal, you can tell our listeners you have all kinds of cool stuff happening. And she's going to be doing more traveling and needs, some time and recoup days. And I like this Tuesday at 6 time. It's giving me like some different energy too. And I have a lot of energy today. I talked to Ursula. If she tunes in, we'll have to ask her to comment. But I have something like a nodal return of some sort going on, where like both of my my north and south nodes are like lined up. And she speaks astrology. I do not. But I was like, I just feel really good today. And I'm on day 2 of the medical medium cleanse, and I feel it working for me. And I'm like, all right. So I just giving you all a warning in advance. I got a lot of light moving through me today.
I'm going to say hello to Alicia, Danielle, Julie, and yes, Lexi is fire. Danielle says Lexi is fire. She is. I absolutely love her hair. And then we do have Ursula here, so she can. And then Julie said that she survived yesterday. So I also survived yesterday, Julie. It was like Mandee said, so new website, woohoo! It's going to be different. My email is different. So if you go to send me anything from Admit Medium, you are actually going to be redirected to my other one. It's going to give you like a pop-up. So it is now Spirit Speaks, LLC IP, which is for my impromptu paranormal business that I'm also doing. And I do actually have an investigation coming up 2 weeks from now that will be posted in like an actual video of me going in and doing my walkthrough, and Ben and hopefully my son, I hope he comes because him and his friend have wanted to do this for a while, going through and seeing what they can catch on all of the equipment that we have. I'm a little bit weird when it comes to investigating, so I'll just let you know it's going to be awkward. I'm awkward. I don't do investigating. I know spirit exists. It is annoying. I've already talked to them. They tell me their story. They do their thing. I don't need the proof, but you guys like the proof. So we're really excited with what that is bringing. And I also have some other things. So that's kind of where I'm going. So I thank you guys. Thank you, Mandee, for giving me that moment. And hopefully people in California will see me soon.
I forgot my mic was mute. I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing all that. And this is cool. I think we have an opportunity to talk about some neat things tonight and some more paranormal stuff. And of course, we can pull cards and do readings. And even Lexi, if you have any cards or messages, you're welcome to pull, of course. But Crystal's an amazing investigator. And maybe you could tell our audience a little bit more about how your investigations work. And I know Lexi's been holding space on some too, and she can share a little about how some things have been going on with her stuff. And I think this is a really cool realm that people are really interested in. And thank you all so much for being here. We love you so much. And yes, Ursula, if you could maybe tell us what the whole nodal thing going on with me is today, that I feel so like, excited and good, and in alignment, let me know. And I was like, oh, how long is this gonna last? Or it's like, is this gonna be a few weeks? She's like, today.
Oh.
Cinderella. So here we are. But I'm interested in all the ghost stories and rewriting what that looks like. So maybe if you're down, Crystal, would you share a little bit first about how your stuff works? And then we'll talk a little bit about Lexi and some of her recent experiences.
Absolutely. So I actually think that Lexi and I do things very similarly based on what we've chatted so far. So I'm just gonna say I think Lexi and I kind of have the same perspective on that. With me, I usually just prefer to do walkthroughs. So before anything, I usually am in kind of like, I don't want to say meditative space. Before I go into a location, I'm able to pick up on things prior to because of the remote viewing that I have. And so they'll start to tell me what's going on. And then once I get in there, I start to have my conversations. And so here's where I'm going to tell you, this is where I'm going to stroke my ego a bit, guys, because this is what I love about me. Spirit loves to be friends. They walk in and I see this and I have this experience, like seeing people meeting me at the door, and you'll have one spokesperson talking about the situation and the conversations and who this person is and where they came from. And maybe they didn't pass here and have no reason to be here. But if you think about it in past terms, you know, there's this plantation or whatever. And there's all these different layers to the conversation because there's so many energies that have been capped there. And so they're able to kind of come in and give me this beautiful, magical space to hear them, like talking to a friend, to having an actual conversation with somebody who's just excited to tell their story and tell how they were raised, tell their experiences. It's different. And so with that, I will go through the space and I will tell you what I'm receiving, feeling, picking up, whatever. If there's negative stuff there, you would be amazed at how many positive influence spirits, such as your people, like to call them out and be like, yeah, that creepy dude in the corner, this is what he's doing and he's wreaking havoc in these ways. And, you know, we're protecting the space. And so creepy dude in the corner can't be a creepy dude in the corner anymore. He's like, oh, shucks. And then he's got to talk to me. And then I see why he's the creepy dude in the corner. If I come upon anything that's more elemental or more primal or even lower vibrational entity-ish, then we handle it the way it needs to be handled because everything is not usually what it seems. And so it's a beautiful space to be able to see spirit the way that spirit is supposed to be seen instead of being scared of what I might see, I guess is what I'm going to say. Because good God Almighty, even the negative things have taught me the most beautiful, beautiful gifts. And I embrace it all. So that's kind of how it is for me.
Oh, thank you for sharing. That's so beautiful and awesome. Lex, will you share a little bit about yourself? And welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Yes. So my dream, like I've manifested my childhood dream of being like a part of Scooby-Doo. And so it's like just blossoming for me. And my entire life has been like love all things creepy, haunted, drawn to certain things. And it hasn't been until just the past, 3-4 years now that I've started to understand the skills, the things I was feeling. Because I used to feel like I would get bum rushed with these emotions and like physical ailments, and like where I'd get sometimes sick or heart pain or palpitations or sharp shooting pains in places. And I had to decipher that was actually spirit coming through, because I was just this open like vessel that did not understand, right? So I had myself too open. So now, like how Crystal was saying, how she goes into it like in a meditative state, I start prepping before I go places now, like a couple days in advance. I ask for guidance. I ask for support. I just sit with it. I allow things to come through, and I've been writing it down a lot as it comes in. As soon as then I carry I have notebooks everywhere with these little blurbs that like come out, and I just allow that process to unfold. And I'm new to the investigative, like paranormal aspect with like all the tools and everything. And I got invited in locally by this beautiful soul, Alora Huey, into her investigation crew, Deja Vu Paranormal. And they have all this equipment. And through that, getting to finally, I get to go in, and, I always like to go in first, do my scoop before, we start the investigating, and, take it all in. And then to see that, to have that equipment to then verify almost and like validate for me is one of those things that feels amazing, because when it, for me as a newbie not understanding, a lot of the times I question, like, am I picking this up? Is this real? So when it's then verified, it's amazing how that works. And so it's so much fun. And my friend Alora, she's like, I want to do a TV show where we do investigations, and it's like you bring skeptics and you just film them throughout the night. You film like a before and an after and just see, because for me, I got to share in here before about the Conjuring house and my amazing Conjuring visit, which we're going back. We are going back to the Conjuring house, and we have it as a private. So it's just 6 of us going. And I'm so excited because last time we went with like, 20 plus people, it was an event. And here's the thing, when you were talking about like fear manifesting, those that were fearful, the fear would play up on them. And this was the second time that I've witnessed that at an event. I worked another event. The first event I did with Deja Vu Paranormal was at the Hartness House here in Springfield, which is such a great place. If anybody likes paranormal, come check out the
Lexi, hold on. I'm going to stop you for just a second because I have to show you this comment. Julie says that house is scary. What do you think about that?
I think it can be scary. I feel like we've been kind of convinced that it's scary through Hollywood. And I feel like it is the most loving house, and that it's like actually a teaching house. I feel like it's actually a teaching house. There are energies there that will mess with you. And if they feel like you're not there for a pure reason, you don't make your intention clear on why you're there, they will try to play off your fears. And I watched that unfold at the beginning of the night. We had some of the most intense energy in the beginning of the night. We had like, it almost felt like there was a energetic, like, storm brewing in one of the rooms following this one girl around who was so scared. And when she like, we all supported her, and we were like, that there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Like, it's playing off of your fears. It started to calm down the more confident she got. And then she got to this point where she was so excited, and she was like not in that fear state, and that energy calmed down. And then we had these nice spirits coming in, and we were getting these really awesome stories and messages. And the cool thing was, I feel like we got to hear history that's never been told before. So it was like this beautiful way of like getting to honor and hold space for these untold stories, because a lot of the times when people go, they're not there to then tell their stories, right? So you have the people that were there that may have a issue with them, or hiding something, or want to tell that, and then it's like telephone, right? Because then that story gets changed every time it gets passed down. So getting to sit there and connect just with spirit, and like go in, and like we literally introduce ourselves. We like say, hey, we want to hear your story, or would you like to tell your story? And like that's when it gets active for us, and not in in this amazing way. It's like so cool how it can happen and unfold. And then you feel honored. Like I left that house feeling so honored that to have been there and experienced it, and to have met those spirits and those energies, because there's a lot of it. It's scary because there's so much going on there. There is so much history there. There is so much that unfolded on that area, that space, that it's like a weaving of a blanket, just layered of energetic memories and experiences and events, and all the way back from Native American, all the way through all the different wars. I mean, there was so much that had been seen and experienced there, that's why I feel like it's overwhelming and scary, because there was hardship, there was sadness, there was hard times, there was theft, there was fights, there was not always great people, but there were stories, and there were lessons, and they want to be honored and remembered and have their truth be told, I truly believe. So it was such an honor to be there. It was like, oh, I can't wait to go back, because I want to dig in more and hear more. I just want to sit and hear.
And I'm so sorry that I cut you off, because you were in the middle of talking about like how you see and receive spirit, and how the investigations work for you. So if you want to continue that conversation, please do. I was like, but I knew you would have such passion to share with that, because it's true. it is at face value. And I wanted to go back, and I also wanted to highlight this one because thank you so very much. That's actually something that I'm learning. So thank you for calling that out in a good way and saying, hey girl, congratulations for saying that, I'm going to stroke my own ego for a moment and talk about me and what I love about me. Cause yeah, we don't do that. And I'm really learning how to do that. So thank you for noticing that. And then I also, Mandee, beautiful timing. Ursula did pop in and she said, yes, it's your nodal return, which is when the nodes north node and south node in the sky return to the same degree sign they were in when you were born. It happens for everyone every 18 and a half years. So you're in your space, man.
I'm feeling it today. Sorry I disappeared. I was trying to look at comments and
No.
I was like, oop.
And then Andrea says that she doesn't like it when people go seeking out and bothering spirits. And I agree with that. I kind of have and this is actually one of the things that I'm like about. Now, do I want to go to these places? Yes. Do I have an issue with that? Yes. I have an issue with me wanting to go to these places that have been overly investigated and overly exploited because they're people, they're our loved ones, they're our family members, ancestors. I mean, like, these are our people, and I don't think that anybody should have to live like that if they don't want to. And so that's kind of why I made my thing impromptu paranormal. It's because how I'm going to be doing it is putting myself in a town. I'm going to towns and I'm putting myself in a location in a restaurant. And if anybody's there who has something, then they can do it themselves, because we're firm believers that people have to ask for that. The energy has to be an invited energy. And if the people ask me, that means that something in the house is asking me. So it's an energy thing. I don't want to just bombard all of these places that have already been investigated. So that's just it. That's how my personal experience is and how I feel about it.
It's so funny you say that, because I was just saying, I think we need to be focusing on going to the smaller, less known and less, because a lot of these places that are well known, you got to pay to get in too, right?
Yeah.
It's become this business. And I feel like to spirit, that's dirty for them. They're being treated as like business. Like, it's dirty to them as it is to us. Like, you know what I mean?
Lexi, I have to stop you only because of what we're talking about. Remember how you said that you start setting up for places before you even go? This place that I'm going to in 2 weeks, I just had this dude come through from that location. He goes, unless you were a prostitute, and then you'll take that money. So I have to tell you, spirit is here when you do things, and that's how it happens. It's the thoughts that you receive. But if you're able to, I know obviously I'm not a man that looks and feels the way that he felt in that moment, which is part of my empathic reading, but also my remote viewing, because it's like I'm sitting in him, having the conversation, sitting at a table like this. And so that is exactly how that works. And so they're already connecting with me. So Lexi, that's like literally what you were just talking about. But it was funny because he stopped you and made this side hand comment about prostitutes and taking money.
That's like another point, though. I feel like too, spirits are so much fun. Like, when you connect to, they got such great personalities, and like they are fun to, like, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where, I love the fun ones. It can be so much fun because I'll be cracking up. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be dying and everybody's looking at me and like, yeah, just I don't know how to share it. I don't know how to explain what just happened. But
I say people in my head.
Yeah, well,
I say it was the people in my head. People already, they're gonna think I'm crazy anyway because I'm talking to spirit. So why not just whatever? It's the people in my head because it's not wrong.
I always say angels got jokes.
Well, it's like there's dirty spirits on the other side, like that have, you know what I mean, like that have that sense of humor and will make the comments. And it was so funny because we actually have it on the spirit box from the Conjuring House. Monique Too Soon was hosting, and she's this amazing drag queen, and she's like the only drag queen doing paranormal investigation, and she does it with such grace and compassion, and she's gifted too. And so the spirit was like teasing her and like, you know, picking on her about, you know, dude in a dress type of like that. And Monique's just having fun. Does that bother you? Like, I'm going to the bathroom now. Do you want to come with me? And the guy, you know what I mean? So it was so funny how they're playful and they kind of enjoy that too. I think they enjoy when you embrace them and, you know, give them that space and invite them forward. And I feel like it's the ones where, like, you know, not saying like the knock 2 times to like verify you're here is bad, but where it's like just the repetitive, like, prove that you are here, prove that you are here. Give me a sign. Like, you know, it's like, come on, like, I'm here. I gave you my sign. Are we talking or not? I'm out. You know what I
I
mean?
feel like it's like we're trying to ask them to speak a language they don't speak. Like, give it to me in English, but I speak French, man. Like, you know, it's just like it's different languages that we like sometimes we refuse to hear or acknowledge or open ourselves up to. And that's when things can get really magical, when you let yourself step out into the unknown and allow other things that are possible drop in.
I just think spirit's freaking hilarious. I try to tell people all the time, like, you would be so shook. This world, it would be so triggered if they heard the things that spirit says, because they're speaking from the generational understanding that they have. I still let spirit have an ego. It's not like all butterflies and rainbows. There's a lot of things that come through when I let spirit, and I let them be themselves. To me, that's the best part. If you're going to channel, like, let spirit come through and relive through that experience or your translation of what they're giving. And I love that about spirit with me. And I don't know if it's just because I've had my own life and I've had my own experiences and they can see that in me and they're like, yeah, we ain't gonna, if we use this word, say this, whatever, they ain't gonna do nothing to her, so we're just gonna let it fly. I don't know, but they feel like they can be expressive and human and utilize that energy around me. And I appreciate that so much. That's literally to me, y'all, that right there is that to me is exactly what love would feel like if it was being given on it from God himself. I cannot tell you how honoring it is to be able to sit with something that is so raw and so real, whether it be peaceful and happy or painful and traumatic, because there is so much love in both of these things. And if somebody is honoring you with their story and their expression and the worst trauma of their life and how that affected them and how that affected everybody around them, if they're honoring with you with that information, you should do that with such love and such grace, because that is them laying their heart out on the table for you in ways that most people never get, especially a stranger. And I am a stranger to every one of these people. And I had a reading the other day, and I was talking to this person who was a little bit fearful of this. And I said, you know, I'm going to put it this way. People can say what they want to say about some of the things that are taking place on this earth, but on the other side, we see it too. Lexi, you know, Mandee, you know, we see it too in spirit. Spirit comes through, they tell their story. We're not perfect. Not one person on this planet is perfect. We've all made mistakes. We're all the demon to somebody. We've all hurt people, and spirit is the same. And so when they come in and they give these beautiful experiences to me, I had a murderer come through one time, and he was a serial killer. And in the mode of him channeling this, he wanted me to see him this way. As soon as I allowed myself to stop fearing what he was doing, and it was bad what he was doing to me. Because I'm an empath, I felt it. It was bad what he was doing to me, and he was doing it because he wanted to get me. My guides stripped him down into the 3-year-old that was placed inside of the pantry closet naked in the winter for a week at a time and tortured by his mom. And as soon as I saw that, I couldn't see that person that he was portraying himself as being anymore. I saw him from that state on as that broken little boy that had been stuffed in a closet for a long period of time. And that killed me. Still does to this day, that story. And then to see how he turned out was just so traumatic, because yes, we can say what we want to say about these people and their lives and their experiences and how bad of people they are, but something made them that way too. Okay. And I'm not saying every person that ends up in those situations came from horrible family backgrounds or anything like that. I'm saying that something makes people that way. And to see them in their perspective and see that being shared with you, which is something that would have never, ever been seen, that would have never been a story. That's what they're presenting to us. And to me, that's why it is important to make this not about money, in a sense, or some kind of gain, in a sense, because you have stories, lives, people. These are experiences that were really lived, and it has to be met with that.
Yeah.
I'm
And
sorry for the long-winded comment, but that
No.
like struck me so hard. That is why I do what I do.
No, and I love it. And I also feel like when these souls get that opportunity to have somebody to hold that sacred space for them, right? And they get to share their story, and somebody actually sees the root cause and sees their full timeline, their full experience, right? A lot of times we just make the snapshot judgment of somebody and then hold that over their head. And we don't do the whole storyboard, right? Like what got them there, right? Just like when we have a dis-ease or we have an ailment ourselves, and it's, you know, bringing out the misery in us or something we're battling, it has a root cause, right? So it's that same aspect of like healing, that emotional healing. And so from what spirit has told me, when we get to facilitate that, and that's why I told my husband, I said, this is an honor to be able to do this. I feel like this thing that I'm waking up to, like learning, because I'm new, I'm a newbie. Like I've only gone to my places that I feel are haunted and, you know, done pendulum or muscle testing or sat and just, you know, meditated and allowed, and, you know, I haven't ever used tools and stuff or gone an investigation and like investigated people's homes, like been a part of a team. I'm like, this is amazing. And we got to investigate a home this Saturday night, right? This lady that was experiencing a lot of stuff in her home, and, you know, free of charge. That's something you charge because you want to help the person. You don't charge for this because the equipment's a lot of money. And, you know, sometimes people need that validation, the verification, need the support, because this poor lady was feeling like she was going crazy. She didn't want to tell anybody. She told one friend, that friend then reached out. She was like, no, let's reach out. There's people that actually, you know, can talk to you about this, can help you understand it more, can give you the tools. And like, come to find out, like the shadows that they were seeing after our investigation, like what our conclusion was after the investigation was, the shadows that she was seeing, they were feeling walking through, were like the imprints of past. It was an old brick building that had been there for a really long time. And it was nothing harmful feeling. It was more so you would catch them, and it was somebody's routine. Somebody had a routine, and that's just been imprinted. And because she's a sensitive empath that's awakening and not aware to all of her gifts yet, she's able to see it. And I feel like it's happening for a reason for her, because she's waking up to these gifts. Now this has triggered her to go work on her clairs, to work on these things, to bring back this mindful practice, to connect to her spirituality. It all happens for a reason. And it's such an honor, I feel like, to be able to go in and hold that space and tell those stories and help people find that peace, and then not be so living in a fear of their home or this space or a ghost, and see it for something different. And for me, as a child who grew up deathly afraid of death and dying, I'm not anymore, because this has given me proof that there is so much more. And just the process of this awakening to this has helped me release anxiety. It's helped me release fears. It's helped me face fears. And now it has me, whenever I feel fearful, like, oh, this is a sign. Like, okay, I'm feeling fearful. Turn that freaking light on, shine it in the dark. What is there to be afraid of? Do you know what I mean? And like, so it's such a beautiful experience, and like, and an honor when you get to hear. And like, all I can think about is for the murder, that how that must have helped heal his soul too, to finally have somebody recognize that. And in the moment of you being able to face that and listen and see that, how many people have ever done that for him, do you think? Probably zero. Nobody had probably ever held that space for him. And so as you were telling that, I was like getting the feeling of like the release for him and his soul and the help there. So it's like, you know, getting to help other souls is getting to hold that space to help them too. And that's where I feel like the multi-generational healing, right? That's like an aspect of that, and how that can play out and how that can happen, and how us here on earth in this experience, this school realm, right, can embrace it and use it in many ways to help ourselves heal, right? Help ourselves heal, help the ones we love heal, because, you know, I really do believe it all happens for a reason for us, especially if we open ourselves up to it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for
And
sharing. I think
also
it's
wanted
so
to
beautiful and it's so important. And the cool thing about it is each and every one of us totally honor spirit. And I get to do that like with living people mostly. And I get to see trauma and I see it as it impacts on people's souls. Or like if I'm out of the grocery store and I see like a mom rip her kid, you know, by the arm or something, or like, you know, you see somebody get embarrassed or something happens. And I've always been able to like see trauma imprinting as it's happening. And then I'm lucky enough too, when I hold soul space with people, to be able to take a look at where things got impacted. And like, you know, Lexi said, it's not fun or easy, but there's almost always a purpose and there's almost always a reason behind it or an opportunity. And it might not be karmic, it might not be something you caused or attracted or this or that, but shit happened and it happened. And then we have an opportunity to think about what we're going to do after that, regardless if it was the worst thing in the world and you were completely, you know, blindsided by something. You're still here for some reason, so we got to work with that. And so I just love that, like, because I do that a lot with my clients and helping plug them back into their purpose after so many things. And then you guys are doing it with spirits and helping them to be at peace because they're able to be seen and heard and wholly and completely. I love
see, I
that.
love that because that's one of the, I love that. Because I believe like you work, people, we're still spirit. So she's working with the spirit here. She's working with your spirit, your integrated, like higher self spirit in your body. And so any way you look at it, it's still working with spirit. And that's why I'm like, you know, if people could learn how to connect into that to them, because a lot of people want to know how to talk to people on the other side. And that's, I guess, why I'm saying this. It's the healing that has to happen before you can get to that space, or as you're working through it, it opens up, not necessarily this to this. You work through it, and that's how it gets bigger, better, bolder, whatever. But you have to work on your spirit first in some people, not in everybody, but in some people. And then you have to utilize that, and it will really help you tap into the other side and your people that you love and everything around you to help you feel in ways that maybe you're not as broken or damaged or whatever, and instead feel filled with love. Like all of those things work hand in hand. And so I personally feel like working on me really is working on spirit. I guess is how I'm going to say that, because like I've really learned that my human self has been through things. Therefore, my human self has a hard time letting go, specifically my brain. And that's where my PTSD comes in. And it has all those conversations and like pulls you back. But in those moments, your spirit can be louder than your voice if you allow yourself to integrate back into yourself and relove yourself after all of that trauma. And a lot of us, man, a lot of us like don't realize how disconnected we are. And we go into autopilot because this is not here anymore. It's here. It's hanging out right here. And you're not able to pull your spirit back together. And so when people talk about wanting to speak with spirit, I'm like, what I hear is I want to learn how to speak to myself, because every person that I channel for has bits and pieces of me and my life and my experiences in them. And it all plays a part of the whole picture. So I feel like if you want this, you have to look at this. So that's why it's important. And I feel like separating those two and being like, well, I want to be a channeler or a psychic and I want to do readings and I want to do all these things, you know, there's a whole lot of stuff that has to happen before those things come through. Can you have natural gifts? Yes. Can you be a wonderful psychic? Yes. Can you see spirit all the time and talk to them? Yes. All of that. Lexi was all of that. Mandee is all of that. But it takes a lot of work, patience, love, self-love to get to a place where you can meet people on the other side, like Murder Man, with that love and not judge the situation at all based on what you're interpreting it to be. So I love that, Mandee, because it was just so important to this.
Oh my God.
It's the biggest piece. And it's the missing piece in so many of us often, and it's an opportunity, it's a bridge. And Crystal, like, how many times do you sit with people when you're doing readings and they want to connect to their loved ones because they're wanting to hear what they need to do next to love themselves more, or feel more held, or feel at peace, or to heal, or, and they're hoping that they'll get some answers with that. It almost always comes back down into our journey in this lifetime and how we're showing up for it.
Yep. And I think that was one of the things that I first recognized with my channeling when I first started, was how I had readings before and never did I receive that information. I had never heard anybody in any of my readings talk about emotional, talk about healing, talk about how to see them, how to receive them, how to pick it up. I had never seen that done before. And so I thought it was actually a really neat gift that I was experiencing. And it's different, but it's not so different. I mean, it's not. There's a lot of us doing that. There's a lot of us speaking that truth. But it does hit different sometimes, I think, with different people, different spirits, and also maybe through different channelers. And that's just kind of one of the aspects of the raw, real honesty, I think, that spirit provides when they channel, that gives it hits a little bit different, because there's a lot of layers to healing.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those healing layers don't start on the surface where we're looking. They start under the surface where we aren't able to see. And it's pulling those things up that helps us understand the full picture. And that's, once again, part of the healing process that some of us aren't ready to receive. But I also think it's a beautiful thing to be able to channel, because it does plant a seed, and eventually seeds take root. So it might not hit them today, but it makes sense later.
In beautiful divine timing. With your higher selves and your charts and all the cool things. And even on your worst days, I send you all so much love and promise you that there's so much magic going on behind that, even on the horrible days. And then on the good days, a lot of times we can start to see it, which is really nice.
I feel like spirit too wants to help us. Like, the spirit wants us to be successful, and like wants us to give our love and hold that space for us, just as much as we will allow it and invite. It's up to us to allow it and invite it in, right? And practice that muscle. It's a muscle. It takes practice. It takes devotion. It takes kind of almost like dedicated time to practice. So did we answer Julie's question about the light? Did you answer
what was that?
Yeah, I think we kind of did. Maybe we didn't. I'm sorry. Thank you.
No,
I'm so very much.
Because I wanted to say to that, because I think her question was about the light
coming within and extinguishing the dark. And that's exactly how I see it, is like a candle, light, poof, and go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I totally think so too.
There
and I would say, like, when it's like,
where is it?
using the light to fight the fear. Like, it's one of those things where when you allow your light to shine bright into that darkness, I feel like that's where the power, like that little bit there, it takes time to like master and be able to do, but it's like the process of learning to like shine your light into that fear, right? Like, allow yourself to face it, embrace it. That's the best way to overcome it, is like, I think, like, or my experience is like led to being able to also like kind of protect yourself from it, right? In a way like that. I don't know.
So when I go to places, I depending on like the location, the house, whatever it is, when after I do the cleansing, whatever it is that I'm doing, I usually fill the house with light from the inside out, brightest light you can see. And that's kind of what I do to myself too. So how it's been taught to me, the reason why I'm saying that is how it's been taught to me is that we are an extension of source energy, God energy. We're an extension of that. We bring that light to the planet, and that light burns in here. It really does. And some of us lose that because we aren't really taught that, but we have to remind ourselves to see that. And so I literally see myself with this beautiful bright light growing from the inside out and forcing itself out. And they've taught me and put me in 1,000,001 situations where I had to utilize that light inside of me to get something away or to banish something that was of lower vibration in that moment. And if I didn't believe that light existed in me, I wouldn't be able to extinguish it. And they remind me every time. And I have to tell you, like, I love my team so much, y'all. They always remind me in my darkest moments that there is no darkness in light, Crystal. Brighten your light. And it is something that I'm given over and over and over again in those moments where I also succumb to those traumatic experiences, because, you know, roller coaster of life, it's wonderful. But yeah, that light and having that reference and that understanding and that power helps you overcome any type of fear, because when you believe you are source, when you believe you have that with you, and you believe you know that that team is standing next to you, and I literally will see a whole freaking team standing behind me when I need it, it's an internal experience. There's nothing external that can be more powerful than bringing God to a situation in a fight. That's that. And that's tapping into that power. And that's why spirit has taught me the way that they have, because I've had to be that in a situation to force something out of my space at that moment in time, for any which reasons. Have been entities, have been energies, has been many different things. And spirit can do things that are not quite comfortable to us, especially if we are incredible empaths on steroids. It feels like your body is physically being attacked. It does not feel mental, even though you can think rationally and say this isn't really happening. Your body is responding in a way that it is physically happening to you. And so that's one of those things where you have to overcome that feeling in that moment with whatever spirit's throwing at you. And whew, that's when that light shines out, and that's immediately stops. It stops. There is no pass go and collect $200. It's go straight to freaking jail for them at that moment. So it's a different experience.
And it just changes the energy. Like, energy can't be created or destroyed in this realm. And so what it does is it transmutes it. By shining the light on, it changes what its frequency is, it changes what's happening, and then it has no choice but to shift and transmute and to move on out.
Yeah, and I almost feel like too, if so when I was at the Conjuring house in the beginning of the night, there was times where we would like shut all the lights off and sit in the like just the dark, and I was struggling with that so hard. So, and like especially where I tried the, what is it called, the SD method? How do you say it?
It's the Estes method.
Okay, where I had to like my eyes were covered and I had these headphones on. I had a moment where it took me a little while before I could like drop into it because of the fear. And I literally, what I would do, like I was like, okay. And I kept like inside, like I focused on my breath. I brought it in. I am light. I am love. I am light. I am peace. And I just kept saying these things and picturing my light getting brighter and brighter. And then the darkness didn't seem so dark anymore. Then the heavy energy that was triggering kind of anxiety and fear transmuted and changed into either it went away or it was like, oh, there's a spirit here and it's checking me out just like I'm, here to check it out. And it was, you know what I mean? So once I did that, it was so powerful because there was a couple times where it was like, oh, I might have to tap out. Like, can I run to the car? Like, I was planning exits, okay? Like, I literally got there in the night and was scoping exits for every room and situation because I was like, just in case. I have a really bad habit of like doing like a Scooby-Doo Shaggy, like, I literally picture me like Scooby-Doo, like the dust and there she is, gone. And I am the type of person sometimes where my body reacts and my mind is behind. So my body is just like freaking out. And I'm like, wait a minute, why are we doing this? Like after the matter of the freak out. So there was a point in the night where I hope we caught it on film, where in the very beginning of the night when I was, holding a lot of fear, where we heard a growl in the corner of the creepy basement and you could just feel somebody like there. And I freaked out and I literally like, everybody was cracking up because I ran in this like circle, I guess. I don't even know what he did. And then there was a time where I got scared and everybody told me I screamed, we're all gonna die. And I have no recollection of screaming it, but I was under a table when they told me. So like the fear factor, like I ran and got under a table and have no recall. So like that response that has been there for so many years of being fearful, it's like still there at times. And then I'll be like, I don't know why I did that. I'm not scared. I can face this. Like, hold on. Let me change my underwear and put on my big girl pants. I got this. Like, you know, so it's like a work in progress. So that question, Julie, as soon as I saw that, I just thought of myself sitting in fear at first, and then like how powerful that light really was. And all it took for me to like tap into it and use it against that fear, that negative energy, was literally like the repeating and picturing that light turning on and picturing myself as like that lighthouse. And like, as I said it, like pushing that light out. So like, if I recommend that as a tool. And that's one of the things that I want to be able to do more, is teach people, how do you tap into this? What tools can you use for these things, you know, to tell what's going on in your home or the connections? Because I feel like we're not taught this. It's so taboo, right? You feel weird asking. Some people are afraid to share because of, you know, the witch wound, the persecution wound, being called crazy. Now I embrace crazy, and I'm like, I'm crazy and I love it. It's great. Come join the sad. You know, come get cosmic and crazy.
Ooh, I like that.
Cosmic and crazy. I work in the healthcare industry. Yes. Kara,
what did Kara say?
She says, I worked in the death care industry for over a decade, and the scariest things I've ever experienced came from within. Fear itself is the worst, in my opinion. I agree. I think that's what fear is. I think it's us. I just made a video about that, actually. I literally, like, 5 minutes, 10 minutes before coming on here, I posted a video about it, because people talk shit about Charlie and say that he's like the scary, creepy doll. And I'm like, oh, no, he's not. And I'm just going to say, I'll give you guys, let's say 2 minutes to tell us, which doll in this room do you think is the one that's the scariest? Seriously. This is one of those tools to test your intelligence here when it comes to your intuition, I guess.
I'm out, so I can't really see anything up close enough. But I do love Kara's comment too. And like, transmuting fear is the most badass alchemy thing that we can do in this lifetime. And for me, like, and a lot of people, like, we have a lot of PTSD. We have a lot of shit we've all been through. And for me, I was able to really transmute it by walking with the angels and by asking Archangel Michael to surround me in white and blue light and protect me. And I tell this story often, but like, I used to do it when I was working as a bartender, and I was closing up the bar at the end of the night, and I was by myself, and I had to walk out to my car, and it was dark, and I was always afraid somebody was going to come and get me. After things I'd been through, that was always my trauma. And then just as a woman, you're always just afraid. You're looking in the back of your car. You're checking out like what's behind you. And so I would just start being like, all right, this is ridiculous. Like, you need to like start releasing this fear. You need to start enjoying yourself. Stop being afraid of like the dark so much. Like, what can we do here? And I just started really connecting with spirituality. And I would ask Archangel Michael to come in and surround me in white and blue light and protect me, and to keep me safe while I was walking through the dark and while I couldn't see what was going on. And so I would start to feel him. I would start to feel it. And I'd be like, wow, I really feel this energetic bubble around me. And then I'd start to take deeper breaths, and I'd look around, and I get cool signs and gifts, like a really cool full moon or an owl swooping by. And then it got tested one night because I heard something rumbling in the bushes, and I was like, oh no, like it's happening. This is it, you know, and the fear comes in. You're like, ah. And I was like, what if I just face it? What if I just turn and look right now and see what's behind me instead of trying to like jump in my car? And I turn around, and it was like this poor homeless woman who was just as afraid of me and like trying to hide from me in bushes. And I was like, okay, all right, this is my moment. I'm glad I turned around and faced this fear. And like, I'm the one who's scaring her just as much. And like, why can't I just like turn into more peace and more love and trust? And then it helped me to tune in more, so that when danger does come or something weird's going on, I'm that much sharper, and I'm instead able to respond to it instead of react from it or let all these feelings come up. I'm instead like, all right, what's going on? How can we handle it? And so it took a lot of work and a lot of showing up and a lot of self-talk, but it's amazing what can happen when you allow fear to start transmuting, and when you start dosing it really with a lot of love and a lot of faith and a lot of trust. And it gives you opportunities to sharpen and trust your intuition more.
everything they said, I guess. I don't really have anything to add to that because I have just been in a lot of situations where I myself was fearful out of my own dramas, and how I see and how I receive. It's not actually spirit doing the fearful stuff, because what I've also learned is that, and I'll use it in these terms because, you know, this is how we all want to see it. Negative entities or demonic activity can only use your own fears and traumas against you. So it can't take anything outside of you and use it in a fearful way. And so it's going to play off from your biggest fears that you have. So when people talk about those things and they're like, oh, but this and oh, but this, I'm like, yeah, but they can only use what I have inside of me to use, because anything else outside of me isn't going to trigger me. It's not going to get to me because it's not in my wheelhouse of understanding. So they literally can only use your own experiences and your own lens to manipulate you or mislead you in any direction. It comes from you. And that's the hard part to swallow a lot of times. And so to work through that is something that goes back to the healing, like Mandee said, healing the spirit. That goes back to the start. That's where that comes in, because at some point we would all like to be up here and channeling for, you know, this realm up here, but not all of us have that job. Not all of us have that. I would love to go back to a place where I was before. Lexi had said something about this. Like, I used to love to get scared. I loved how spirit would scare the shit out of me. I loved that. Do you know how frustrated I am now that I can't? Like, I get startled sometimes, but spirit has not scared me. And I want to be scared again a little bit.
Girl. But it's like being on a roller coaster or something. It's like feeling exhilaration. It's like, yeah, I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, it's like
but that, good for you. Do it.
That adrenaline, because in that moment, it's like, you know, I don't know if it's my fight or flight, but I'm one of those people who always works better under stress. So when I was working in the doctor's offices and stuff, if there was an emergency, I knew exactly how to handle it, how to get it done, blah, 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 blah. I was the person delegating everything to everybody because I knew exactly what to do, because that's what I worked better under. Yeah. And so when something comes and like, it's like, okay, yeah, woohoo, this is all those ancient knowledges and understandings coming to the surface all at once. And all of my ancestors are standing there going, we got you, girl. And so we have all these different things at play. And I love that feeling. And so when you get into the daily routine of everything being this beautiful experience, love, light, I love your people, but you're great people. Your people are wonderful people. And there's a lot of love and there's no triggers. Okay. There's no, like, I need that pizzazz a little bit in my space to give me that burst and to give me that, because in that moment, I'm learning. And I love to learn this way. I love it. I love how they give it to me. I love it. Kind of pig-headed. I don't think they'd be able to teach it to me any other way. I feel like I'm too stubborn. And so I feel like in some aspects, I'm really ask for that. I'm like, give me more. And it makes me happy.
And they will.
Oh, they will.
I love it.
I love it too. I love that too. I'm like a disaster relief kind of person. I'm like definitely a good, like, survey the scene, let's delegate. We have many, many lifetimes we've all done that in, and it gives you a different charge, and it's cool.
I'm going to quickly answer the question. Charlie's not the scary one. It's actually Elf. I just posted a video on it on my YouTube channel. So if you want to watch that. That is Elf.
That's what I said.
Alfie was one of my favorite toys when I was a kid. I had the stuffed Elf. I
said he's more than any other doll in that room or anything in that room.
He's the only thing that's ever acted possessed. Actually, ooh. I had to Velcro him up there with industrial Velcro because he jumps off my thing. He actually, like, his butt lifts up and forward motions. So I'm like, not today, Satan Elf. That's not going to happen. But I also know that he's not negative. Spirit will utilize, and this is Lexi.
I want Elf's like leg to shake right now.
I know, right? Just give him a wave. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I wish people understood spirit only has like little bursts of energy to use for anything. Okay. Yeah. So it's not that he's haunted. It's just that's what spirit uses, because he's light. He's not heavy. He's easy to move. He's a little bit top heavy. He's got a weird body. they use him because that will get my attention. And so when things are being chucked at you from across the room in your house, it doesn't always actually mean that it's bad. It means that something's trying to get your attention 9 times out of 10, unless it's like literally aimed at your head. And then maybe you're dealing with a ghost type scenario where on the train when he's learning how and he's like, and that can goes across the train. That's kind of what it is. Spirit gathers, and then can force. And that takes a lot. And so you have to take what you get.
It gets like it comes out as a burst of energy.
Yes.
Like, so I got to talk about this.
Yes.
Crystal, I want to know your take on this. Our investigation on Saturday night, she had like a portal set up in her bedroom. She was having really bad headaches, not sleeping well, scary shit happening to her. We walked in that room and everyone there was only 4 of us, felt immediate pressure, headache, almost like a spinning sensation. So listen to this, how cool this was. It was so intense. The Pana box would not work. The EMF reader is going just lighting up, going back and forth, back and forth. It was such intense energy. So we did a little bit of a science experiment and we covered up all the mirrors. I mean, and she had there was mirrors everywhere. So she created this accidental portal in her room. We covered up every mirror. The energy in that room went boom. And it was like, oh, you could breathe. You couldn't really breathe in there. It was like this really intense. And there was so much, like, I was standing in there and I'm getting like, and the way that I saw it set up is it was like a station, a train station for energy and spirits. So it was like they were flying by. It was like, you know, like on a highway where it's like you have like one's on this top run going this way, one's down here going. It was like spirits just crisscrossing, flying through. And you would have like an orb, you would have like a light ball. It was like a knocking. It was like so much a bang. Like there was so much stuff going on in there. And as soon as we covered up all those mirrors, the box worked. We were getting, we were finally getting, it was just amazing. It was like, so she's like, I'm going to keep those covered up, I think. And I was like, yeah, try it for a few days and see how you sleep now.
I don't think people understand mirrors crossing really creates some ick, like a lot of ick.
And so, and
they're not like
about your thoughts, and then Mandee, because Mandee's has been into feng shui lately.
I was gonna say they're not popular in feng shui.
See, so I was just,
and when like what is I think like definitely a lot of religions, but I think Jewish people in particular and other religions will hang, they'll cover up the mirror with like cloths and stuff. You're not allowed to look at yourself for like 3 or 5 days or something.
7 days, right? 7 days after
something like that, yeah.
Cover it up, and they won't look in a mirror. They all have to have black sheets or black covers over them.
So I don't know if this is true. Feel free to Google. I could be talking out of my arse right now, because it's coming in this way. I don't know if because I feel like different cultures probably did it differently, but they're giving me spirit is giving to me a screenshot taking place, which means that a lot of people probably feel as though it kind of takes a capture of the soul as it's either leaving or something along those lines and kind of captures it in that moment and is able to keep a piece of it or keep all of it in the mirror. I've never seen that. I've never seen a mirror be haunted. I'm not saying a mirror can't be haunted, because objects actually can have attachments
around that. I don't know either, though. I have not experienced that yet myself.
I've just never seen it. I've seen things be attached to things, but not necessarily a mirror.
Now, what about the mirror set up for the portal? Like to create the...
No, that's not capturing spirit. That's giving spirit. When you set up a mirror across from a mirror, what happens? It becomes...
This is good stuff.
Infinity, okay? It opens the door to, if you believe in dimensions, this is a dimensional space.
See, there we go.
So it's able to open little splices in the veil to different spaces to allow different things in, which is where you don't get just spirit. You don't get just spirit. At that point, you're getting different layers of all of the things that are. which could be things that I call them the JP Lovecraft things, which nobody wants in their space. And good God Almighty, I curious what you saw because they keep crawling.
Okay.
And so you don't have to answer that. We can do that privately if you want to, but they're making me feel like there's actually some interdimensional thing going on here because the spaces were opened and so kitty corner from each other, but there's a wall that literally has from like floor to ceiling mirrors. And they're literally giving it to me from floor to ceiling. So it's like the whole thing is this open moving space. And because it goes from different cross directions, which is where our math has to come in because there's this geometry that takes place with it too, which also goes back to ancient geometrical shapes, which essentially became a spirit grid or a crystal grid in the room because of how the light refractions took place in the actual surroundings. And where she was in the middle. And that was a bad place to be because they're really making me feel like the energy of her was being sucked in two different ways, like a black hole, but the opposite of each other. And it really caused her to be like sick, actually sick. And her stomach is a mess right now. So yes, I bless that poor girl because wow. And please keep your mirrors closed.
Yes. Okay.
I'm down.
So when I was in the portal bathroom at the Conjuring house, they have it. There's these two mirrors in there, so you have that infinity effect. And I shared this TMI about being afraid to use this bathroom, right? Because it's called the portal bathroom. It was so creepy. I had to go pee. Couldn't go. I felt like it was disrespectful to go outside behind a bush. Like I'm a Vermont girl. I can go pee anywhere. Like I'll go squat, whatever. But I felt like it was disrespectful and I had to face my fear and go in that portal bathroom. And I'm in there and there was no way to not like catch that effect anywhere in that room. Like you walked in and it was just, that's all you see is this like it forever non-ending like just line after line and the same, and you would be standing there and you would like in one of those see like a shadow or something go by and it was like not behind you, it wasn't in every one, it was just in the left one over here, the right one, you know what I mean, like, and so I was like constantly going off to it was so crazy though. It was so crazy. And that was definitely happening at this location Saturday. And the funny thing is when you talked about the other realms, the other thing that she was experiencing there were like these lights in the sky. I have this video of these lights in the field and everything. And she's like, do I sound crazy? Wondering if there's aliens too. And there was some tin hat, like, I was ready to put my tin hat on at one point. We were laughing because we were like, oh boy, are we going to go missing? Like, oh, well, at least we'll be together to get anal probed. Like if we did call them in, like, and so we were there was these two lights she says are always watching and they were right there that night. And it looks like one star and then it like goes apart and they move. See, we weren't sure if our investigation was going to turn into a special experience together.
My.
Sorry.
It's possible though. Anything's possible.
No, we went to try to video the lights doing the little dancey thing, and you would hold your camera up to the lights in the sky. You would see on the camera, zoom in, they were doing this little dancey thing. Sorry, Crystal. And as soon as you hit record, the lights would then go into one and it would look just like a star.
Lexi,
Don't you?
I'm so sorry. I was eating a stupid finger.
This is like when we all have sleepovers, we just laugh like this, like all night. Like this is what happens.
I couldn't unsee it, and then I was just stuck there. It's like, oh God.
It's always fucked up shit, but it makes us laugh forever and ever and ever.
I love you, and I'm so sorry.
So Lisa and John said, hi, are you guys doing mediumship readings tonight? I think we're probably not. I think we've been going for like an hour. We're probably going to wrap it up here shortly. But Crystal is an incredible medium, and she's got an awesome website that she just built that just came online today, actually, because she transferred over to something new. And Lexi does really cool readings, and she's available at Sea Goddess Healing Arts. And I know we have lots of other awesome comments and wonderful things. And laughter is such a healing medicine, and I'm glad that we got a good laugh in at the end. So, and I also, every time I try to look at the comments, I keep Xing myself out or turning my camera off. So if there are any comments we need to get to, you guys let me know.
Oh, I see comments. I found out how to see the comments. Oh,
there were two people who wanted readings. They were asking if we were doing any readings today. Mandee already answered that. We're not. We kind of went in a different direction today. So it was apparently in alignment. It was fun.
And I can do an overall reading for everybody here at the end.
Perfect. And I want to say that this comment made me laugh also, but I didn't want to interrupt. Yes, meeting Beetlejuice would have been cool, would it not? Beetlejuice. I wish it worked that way. So
maybe we'll create that one day.
Woo. Okay.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. This has been so lovely. We have so many awesome comments, and like I'm just lit up today. And thank you both for sharing so much about your experiences and talking a little bit more about, investigations and spirit and connection and that part of it, because we don't always go that deep on there. So that's pretty cool. And Crystal's going to have lots more impromptu investigations coming your way. Awesome. Okay, so is there any other pressing comments or questions that we should answer before I do a reading for the week?
Nope. It was pretty much just the same stuff, replying to some of the stuff. Danielle, actually, I'll read this really quick. She goes, oh, like when my door decor came flying across the room in the middle of the night because I wasn't listening to all the other signs. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Just like that, sister. Just like that. And Danielle, thank you for sharing. I saw one of the comments of trying to, release being afraid of the dark. And that's one for a lot of people. And like, you're not alone in that. And there's a lot of ways. And if I can support you, let me know. And just sit with your angels, sit with your team, and see what tools can come up for you to help to release that. Because there's such beauty in the night. And we get to see the stars and the moon. And we get to enjoy peace and quiet and beauty. And of course, scary things can happen, but most of the time life's trying to work for us, and most of the time we're actually pretty safe. And then what happens is we concentrate on these few times where we weren't, or something bad happened, and then it amplifies into fear just within our own bodies and not actually the reality around us. So the most badass thing we can do is acknowledge it a bit and start saying, all right, what can I do to chip off this fear a little bit and dose it with some love? All right, so this is the Starseeds deck from Rebecca Campbell. It only felt appropriate after Lexi's comments. Let's see what we have for the week coming up from the Starseeds. 2 and 3. Oh, this is fantastic for everybody. Okay, so first we get baby steps. Action, follow your intuition before it makes sense. We're under this beautiful new moon energy, and the stirrings of spring are being felt in many of us, and we're feeling these like little rumblings in ourselves, and the days are getting just a little bit longer, and it's time for us to just take some inventory on what it is we are wanting to call in, what it is we are wanting to grow, and what can you do this week to take a little baby step towards that. Sometimes it's as simple as setting your own bedtime. It's like a great example I like to use in parenting ourselves and like adulting a lot of the time. And we stay up, we're looking for connection, we're scrolling on things, we're watching stuff too late, we got TVs on all night, when really like a lot of times we just need a really good night's sleep to start getting some peace and some clarity and some health flowing. So whatever baby step you can take in your life this week, maybe write it down right now, maybe set an intention, hold it to your heart, maybe share it right here in the comment. What's one baby step that you can take this week to start feeling more into alignment and to allow yourself to follow your intuition before it makes sense? I have a client I was talking to yesterday who she's like, I always call everybody to like check in and be like, all right, I like have this first intuitive hit that comes to me and I'm like, I should do this, or I want to do this. And then it's like, I have to call every other person and like find out what they think of me. And I said, that's something we all, like so many people do, and you're not alone, but it's also an opportunity to develop trust, because what you're saying too is not only are you saying you're like, I don't trust myself or my own intuition, but you're also telling all of those people that you don't trust them to love you if you make whatever decision you're going to make off of your own intuition. And you're calling for their approval, and you're calling, for their blessing or whatever, or to like keep you in check because you don't fully trust or feel safe. But it's also kind of a disrespect to them, because you're just saying, hey, you know what? I need all of your approval before I can make a decision. It's an interesting energetic thing. It says mirrors bouncing back and forth. So it's an opportunity. So whatever you can do this week to take some baby steps and step towards your intuition, it's going to be just wonderful and amazing. Our next card is fall into my arms, surrender, holding the opposites extreme of life. We can't, we have to feel it all, and things aren't going to feel amazing if we haven't been to the depths and we don't know what that feels like. And it's so important to allow yourself to simply be held in whatever's going on. If there's agony, let it be a little bit hard for a little bit, and then see what you can do to meet yourself with love and ease and grace and start to shift it the other way. If you've got a lot of ecstasy going on, maybe you're a little too like, and you got to like bring it down a little at this time. Whatever is going on, allow yourself to surrender, allow yourself to release. One of my favorite things from Louise Hay's bedtime meditation, she starts it off with, even if it's been the worst day or the best day of your life, it's over now. And I always like flash forward to like a wedding day, or like somebody, being born, or things happening or something terrible. And I'm like, yep, it's over. Today wasn't the best or the worst, but it is over now. And it's time to release it and go into dreamland, and then show up the next morning in a whole different way and recreate. And that's the other thing too. I'm really into this whole like, I like words and the power behind it and things. And mourning is when you're mourning the death of someone. And we say good morning all the time. And you hear a lot of the woo-woos and hippies saying like grand rising and astrology people. And a lot of it's because we don't want to show up to a funeral each morning. Like, why are we waking up and saying like, oh, good morning, like have a good time mourning the day. Like, and there's a lot of different things that come in that way. So start taking inventory on what words you're hearing and what energies they have when you hear them, and maybe why. Last but not least, a lot of confirmation and an amazing opportunity. Star bathing, light body, crystal grid, transmission, activation. This is a time for all of us to truly start to connect with our higher self, with our angel team, with our spirit guides and our ancestors, and as well as our star ancestors and other beings. And Rebecca Campbell, who wrote this deck, she always says, like, if you want to see your soul, go outside and look past the stars and meditate for a while. And after a while, you'll start to see your soul. And so whenever you can do it at home, just sitting, in your bed or your desk or wherever you're at. You can go outside and get some actual starlight and things, but envision the stars coming in, being that beautiful, bright, amazing, white, transmutive light, and coming in and shining in you and through you and out of you, and see what happens and how you start to feel, and take some, maybe use that as an opportunity to use that as an opportunity to add it to your tool belt, and start doing some star bathing and star bath meditations and see what comes in for you. So baby steps, allow yourself to surrender into whatever you're feeling right now. And even a seed has to break apart before it can grow and come on up. And we're in that time period right now where the fertile soil is starting to rumble and things are coming up. And we even have in Jersey, we have an early spring. We've got daffodils already up. They're already like, oh, hey, I already came through and I already broke and came through to the light. So there's a lot happening. And if you can, take some time to do some star bathing. And crystal gridding is a really nice tool too. And it mentions that. And so there is an opportunity, if you're into that, to add that to your tool belt as well. And thank you all so much for showing up with us here on Spirit Speaks. And I'll just go ahead and say, I'm Mandee Elam. I'm an intuitive ascension guide and one of the co-founders at Sea Goddess Healing Arts. I'd be honored to hold soul space with you. If you made it to the end of this, I always offer 50% off of all my services. You just have to type in Mandee Live as the coupon, and you can book with me on any of my services on Sea Goddess Healing Arts, and it'll give you 50% off. Also, all the Sea Goddesses, we all work on like sliding scales. And if you want to do the work and you're finding like you can't, quite afford afford it or whatever, send us an email, let us know, and we will try to find a way to work with you. So just never let that get in the way. And we thank you all so much for showing up. And then I definitely want to ask Lexi to share a little bit about herself and Crystal to share about herself before we go.
Yes,
Okay.
I would do it. I have to tell you, it's so funny because, of course, I had a card for the week. I had 2 cards pulled for the week, and then I had one that I just pulled out while you were
Go
talking.
for it.
It was trust. It was trust. I accept that my inner voice will always guide me correctly. And then how perfect was this for today? Peace was the one. These were the 2 that I have out for the week that I drew on the new moon, and that I'm allowing for this new moon period, that are words that I'm making my kids, say and look at. So peace, I am a being of love, and I release all negative energy. Exactly what we talked about tonight, shining that beautiful light that you hold within yourself out and release that negative energy. And then self-esteem, I possess gifts of the soul that benefit me and others. So your unique gifts are needed here. So, and I'm over on Sea Goddess Healing Arts. I am open for sacred space sessions, and I like to just kind of meet people where they're at. And, depending on what you need for soul space and tools, I got a massive tool bag of things that we can dive into depending on what, spirit leads us to and what you need most. So I would love to hold space with anybody that feels called to it.
And you can find me on my new website, Spirit Speaks. Yahoo! LLCIP.com. It's also on my my Facebook page. I did share it. So it's there also. And thank you guys so very much for tuning in. We hope you have a great week. We hope you enjoyed the show. And tell us what you want to hear more of and answer questions and do all the fun stuff. And we will get back to you guys. We love you very much. Hi, Sophia. Hi, Jennifer.
Yes, I know there's so many people who hopped on and we didn't get to say hi to. Thank you for being here. We feel you. We love you. I'll read all the comments later. It's always the best. Like, you guys rock. And we'll have a link to Crystal's website on Sea Goddess soon. And oh my God, we have a workshop tomorrow night. 222
Yes.
portal. Balancing the divine feminine and masculine energies within you. There's still room for that. Hop on. It's 2222 for a 2-hour workshop, and it's going to be dope. And you get to hold space with all the sea goddesses, and we get to learn about what these divine feminine and masculine energies are, how they show up in us when they're unbalanced, what they look like when they're balanced, and how we can kind of swing that pendulum within ourselves to do that. So we'd love for you to join us. If you're on the fence, hop on in, sign up, and we'd be honored to hold space with you tomorrow night.
Love you all.
Oh, love you.
It was wonderful. Love you all. I hope you have a wonderful week.
Yes. Bye.
Bye, guys.